members, for a time, I lived and worked in Kenya in East Africa. And while I was in Kenya, I became close to two tribes. One was the Kikuyu. And at the time, Jomo Kenyatta, who was the president of Kenya, was a Kikuyu. And people would tell me that I looked like the Kikuyu. And since they were in charge, I never told them that I wasn't. But the other tribe that I became familiar with was the Maasai. And the Maasai are tall, angular people. They're nomadic. They adorn themselves with beads. They take the earth, the pigment from the earth, and they tint their hair, and they're warriors. And when the Kikuyu approached each other, their greeting was, "How are the children?" How are the children? They placed a great deal of significance on the well-being and the welfare of the children. And they judged their society, their community, they judged their tribe by the well-being of the children. So the greeting was, "How are the children?" And the desired response was, "All the children are well." And today, as we consider this bill, I want to ask, how are the children? The Association of School Psychologists are opponents of this bill. And they have a variety of reasons, as do others. But I'd like to ask you, will the child who will become aware of a stigma regarding their sexual orientation, will that child be well? I want to ask if the child who feels shame regarding their thoughts, their gender identity, will that child be well? I want to ask if the child who is aware of the taboo of even mentioning their sexual orientation, their gender identity, will that child be well? I want to ask if the child who has concerns about conversations, because you don't have to have it in the classroom. Children learn from television, from the playground, from their peers, and they want answers. And so will the child who is now unable to have a conversation with a trusted adult, a teacher, will that child be well? I want to know if the child who has now become a part of the chilling effect of talking to the instructor if they can't talk to their parents, will that child be well? I want to know if the child who is concerned that an instructor is going to inform their parents about concerns or questions that they have regarding their gender identity, is that child going to be well? And will the child who is concerned about being rejected by his or her parents or their peers or their neighbors, will that child be well? And will the child who is ostracized because of gender identity and sexual orientation, will that child be well? And certainly we just heard about conversion therapy. Will the child who fears conversion therapy be well? Hopefully, the answer that the Maasai tribe was trying to get when they asked, "How are the children?" Hopefully, before you press the button, I want you to think about all of the children, not just some of the children, And when I ask the question, how are the children? But that's what this is all about. How are the children? Hopefully, you can reach the right conclusion and be able to say all of the children are well. Thank you, Madam Speaker.